Hi, this is lesson number 10 of the Fine Arts Music Lectures. This is rhythm part number 1. Rhythm's going to be in 5 parts, so this is the first one, sort of an introduction to rhythm. Remember to take notes on your notebook, write all the stuff down that you see and that you hear. Let's get started. Alright, on the agenda today, we're going to define rhythm, talk about what it means in sort of a basic sense, and some other terms as well that are related to it. We're going to talk about the idea of measures, bar lines, meter also, and then the meter or time signature. So let's go ahead and get started. So rhythm, remember that's one of our elements of music. In fact, it's the first element of music. It's very, very important. Rhythm in its most basic sense is the organization of time in music. So it's how we divide up time as it goes along. Dividing it into equal segments or not equal segments or whatever, just sort of chopping it up into bite-sized chunks. Rhythm gives shape and profile to the melody. It's very, very important. So some people say the most important aspect of music is rhythm because it's present in all music. Yeah, so here we go. The beat is an even pulse. That's the thing that divides the music into equal segments. It's present in all music, and sometimes it's very strongly felt, sometimes it's barely perceptible at all, but it's always there, and it can often create a physical response. So when you are tapping your foot along with the beat, or along with the music, you are tapping it to the beat. So it's that repetitive thing, 3, 4, that's just always going, that you're tapping your foot to. That's the beat. So rhythm, remember, is the organization of time in music, and the beat is that even pulse that keeps going. So meter is what happens when we gather beats into measures. So we sort of put beats, that even pulse. Let's say I want to group 4 of them together. Go 1, 2, 3, 4. Gather them into a little group of beats. That's called a measure. So meter is results when we gather those number of beats, could be any number of beats, into a group. A measure is also called a bar. So that's something you should know. Measure and bar are the same thing when we're talking about music. So measure is the same thing as bar. And then a vertical line in the score separates, or on the staff I should say, on a piece of music, separates the measures. And those things are also called bar lines. So again, measure is the same thing as bar, and that vertical line in the score that divides the measures or bars apart is called a bar line. Here's what that looks like. You can see the measure is the sort of open chunk there, and then the bar line, that vertical line that goes up and down, that's the bar line. So measure is the same as bar, and then the bar line is the thing that sort of divides them up. So there are 3 really common meters that, for the purposes of this class, are the ones that you'll need to know. They're duple, which is when we group beats into groups of 2. Triple, when we group them into groups of 3, and quadruple, which is groups of 4, of course. So that's the sort of basic meters. Duple for 2, triple for 3, and quadruple for 4. So here's sort of what that looks like a little bit. Some of this you might not understand yet, maybe you do, but whatever the case, the important thing is that the top line there, top chunk, is duple, because we have 2 notes and then a bar line and then another 2 notes. The next one down, we're in triple, because we have 3 notes and then a bar line. It's 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. And then on the bottom line there, we have quadruple. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. So that divides the beats into groups of 4. So here we just have different kinds of meter, duple, triple, and quadruple, dividing up the beats into 2s, 3s, and 4s. Of course, you could divide them up into larger amounts or even maybe smaller amounts, but for our purposes, these are sort of the most important ones, the most common ones that we'll be dealing with, and that you hear in most pop music and rock music and rap and most of the popular stuff today. So, a meter signature. It's also called the time signature. So those are the same thing. Meter signature, is the same as time signature. It's a numerical symbol where the bottom number gives the value of the beat and the top number gives the number of beats per measure. So I'll give you an example of what that looks like in a second. This is normally placed at the very beginning of the score. That means at the very left-hand side of a piece of music. There will always be a meter signature or time signature, same thing. So don't forget, very important, meter signature is the same thing as time signature. So if you hear those, either one of those terms, they mean the same thing. Okay, it's that those two numbers that are placed at the beginning of the score to tell you what the meter is. Okay, here's an example of what a time signature or a meter signature looks like. It's next to a treble clef here, which we'll talk about more when we get to the melody lectures. But for now, you see in red, it's a 4 on top of a 4. So that means there are 4 quarter notes. 4 quarter notes in this piece of music, wherever that comes from. So if you look at this one here, we have it indicates there's 4, 4 again. The top number indicates the number of notes, so that means we have 4 of them, whatever they are. And the bottom number, like I said before, is the type of notes. So in this case, we know that there are 4 notes per measure, 4 notes per measure, and then the bottom number tells us that we have quarter notes, because it's a 4, it means quarter notes. So 4 quarter notes per measure, as you can see there, we have 4 quarter notes. In the next measure over, notice we have a 2 over 4. That means we have 2 quarter notes. So the top number tells us the number of notes, which would be 2. And then the bottom number tells us that it's going to be quarter notes. And then after that we have 6, 4. So that means there are going to be 6 quarter notes. The top number tells us the number of notes. The bottom number again tells us what kind of note it's going to be. And then the last one there, it's a little bit different. We have 6. The top number tells us there are going to be 6 notes, but the bottom number is an 8 instead, and that means it's going to be eighth notes. So a little bit of this, some of this will make more sense as we progress through the rest of the lectures as well. But you should know that a time signature starts at the beginning of a piece of music, and it tells us how many notes are in a measure and what type of note it is. So, to recap what we talked about today, we talked about the definition of rhythm and some related terms. We talked about measures and bar lines, and we talked about time signatures, also known as meter signatures. So that's it for now. That was part 1 of the rhythms, so stay tuned, and part 2 is next. See you soon.